Have you ever asked that if you've been living peacefully together for 20 years, how many years have you been living intimately? Both parties are very careful not to be too close to the point of offending each other because of truth. Because you don't want to offend yourselves. Now you don't want to tell yourselves the truth any longer. Because you don't know what the next thing you might say that would get your partner angry. And most of the time we do this because we want our friends, our community, our family, our church, our pastors to see that we have a good marriage. Back in there, you are not friends. Back in there, you are not intimate. But you project that to the world because you don't want your marriage to be one of the failed ones. Hello everyone, my name is Damilar McDavid, and together with my wife Olabisi David, we preside over REGEN Relationship Clinic, where we counsel coach about godly relationship, even on earth marriage, and how to have a good couple intimacy time. And today we'll be talking about another discussion that is very valuable to us, especially to those that are married already. And this is a practical thing that we usually don't talk about, but it happens, and it is good we address these unusually discussed topics because it makes us sometimes to pretend and or we either endure. That's why I'll be talking to us this moment about peace and intimacy, and this is written by my wife Olabisi David. There is this kind of peace that can be present in a home that prevents intimacy between the couple. You wonder how can peace is a good thing, and intimacy is a good thing, and how can a peace prevent intimacy from occurring in marriage? The two are supposed to complement each other, but in this situation we're seeing that peace and intimacy sometimes may not work hand in hand, and that's what we're going to be looking at this morning. That's what we want to check out. When a couple is faced with constant disagreement, it seems like they never get along. They get to a point where they resolve out maintain peace of the home, which is a good thing. Yeah, the only problem is the approach. We always believe, have always said that in a marriage, there will be always times for misunderstanding, and at situations like this, especially when it's becoming repetitive, we try to go for peace because we've tried to. It looks as if we've looked for every other alternative to solve this problem, and the problem still remains. And one of the party or both parties can just decide that, okay, let us just go for peace. Let me just avoid problem as much as possible. And as I said earlier, the problem with this sometimes is that because one person is just trying to avoid a problem, can either create a situation whereby somebody in the marriage is pretending or somebody in the marriage is enduring, all because you want peace to reign. And this should never be. That's why sometimes when there is a marriage that seemingly look as if things are not, you've never gotten an account of dispute, fight, misunderstanding. When I mention fight, it depends on the level of your fight. There are some healthy fight that, let me just say, every misunderstanding. I think it's safer and better to use that word when we say misunderstanding. If anybody comes to you and say, we've never had any misunderstanding for the past 20 years, we are married because we understand each other well, it is possible, but in most cases it's either somebody is pretending or somebody's enduring. Somebody's pretending. That means that somebody is just not telling you the truth. Or when you hurt your husband, when you hurt your wife, and your wife says, okay, I've heard you. Maybe he has not actually heard you. Maybe she has not actually forgiven you, but she keeps it as record. And most of the time, this is more dangerous, because you now see that over time, that woman explodes, and you now start wondering, in fact, what may explode may not be as much as what you've done in the past. Maybe you were just joking, you were just trying to bring up your own opinion, and she flares up, and it becomes very extreme, and you're now like, what have I said? I've said nothing wrong. But it has not started today. It's just a series of incidences that have been bottled up, and there's a limit to how much you can bottle things up. When it gets to a particular stage, you explode. That is the situation whereby maybe someone is not actually happy, but the person just keeps pretending to you as if he's happy. Situations like that person could be finding happiness somewhere else, in another person, in another man, in another woman. It may not even be an extramarital affair. It could just be a friend, and that's for the area of pretense. And the other way around, it could be the area of endurance, where the word peace actually comes in most of the time, whereby somebody is just always taking the blame, whether she's right or wrong, whether it's right or wrong, just because he wants peace to reign. And this is the situation. Yeah, it's good, because we have always said that two wrongs cannot make a right. Yeah, but if this is the kind of vehicle on which we drive our marriage continuously, it's not going to be healthy after a certain time. We need to get a situation whereby we need to be open to discussion and transparently and honestly address these issues, because one person will think is doing the best thing and the other person is just suffering it, all in the name of trying to endure, and it becomes overwhelming over time. It kills trust, it kills reliability. That's not the kind of marriage we want to look at, and that's the area of peace coming in, all in the name of trying to bring in peace. And one of the problems, the repercussion of this kind of a thing, is that it ends up affecting your intimacy, because someone you see as your husband who keeps hurting you, and you keep saying yes, endure, you keep enduring. It's very, very difficult to keep loving the person, to keep loving the man at the same level. The more you keep enduring, the more the level of your love, of your affection towards that man or woman keeps decreasing. And that is where peace and intimacy that we're talking about today comes in. Both parties are very careful not to be too close to the point of offending each other because of truth. Because you don't want to offend yourselves. Now you don't want to tell yourselves the truth any longer, because you don't know what the next thing you might say that would get your partner angry. You understand? And because of that, all in the name of trying to avoid every probable situations that are not pleasant, and because of that, you just keep trying to avoid telling yourself the truth. And each time you keep avoiding discussions, you are separating from yourselves physically, which tends to get into your emotional connection and in fact your sexual connection. And because you don't want to tell yourself, you don't want to offend each other, you keep avoiding telling yourself the truth, and intimacy opens one up to those offenses. It's almost difficult to be offended by a random stranger on the street and compared to how much you can be offended by someone living in the same house. So what now happens? They go ahead their day-to-day activities, only maintaining the communication line for important discussions around children, ministries, etc. Nothing personal or intimate. Because you've had issues, you've had situations over time, and because you don't want it to be repetitive, you just want to, and most of the time we do this, it is not for the health of our marriage, it is for the health of the community, it is for the health of the people, it is for the health of our churches, it is for the health of our parents, because we want our friends, our community, our family, our church, our pastors to see that we have a good marriage. So because of that, we don't want to take that extra step to make things better, but the main reason of marriage, of relationship, which is the intimacy part of it, will be suffering, or because you don't want to let people feel like you're having issues in your marriage. And you now see that they keep talking, they talk to each other, you say good morning, what will you eat, Have you paid the children's school fees? The children need this. Discussions are now centered all around things that are necessary. The necessities alone, the children, expenses in the house, your ministry, things that will never have anything to do with your intimacy, with your personal friendship as a husband and a wife. And people will see you outside, they will think, oh, these couples are doing great. But it's all a kind of acting, it's a script. Because back in there, you are not friends. Back in there, you are not intimate. But you project that to the world because you don't want your marriage to be one of the failed ones. This kind of peace in the home is void of friendship, laughter, and intimacy. No random gist, random kisses, and hugs. Everyone is seriously maintaining peace. You can even be holding your hands outside. Once you get inside, what happens? The husband goes into the sitting room to watch TV all through the day. The wife goes into the bedroom, keeping our companionship on her phone. You don't talk to yourselves unless when it is necessary to discuss about general things. Peace is being maintained in that home, but intimacy is suffering for it. And that's the situation of many, many marriages now. Have you checked into your marriage? Is that what is going on? And you think, okay, at least I'm avoiding problems. Even if you're not talking, it's not the best, because at the point that peace will be useless. Yeah, it will be useless, because that marriage at that point is either based on pretense or endurance. Why settle for peace only when peace and intimacy can coexist? Prioritize peace in your home, but understand that disagreements, if handled with understanding and maturity, can foster deeper intimacy and respect. So we need to understand that intimacy and peace are supposed to coexist. In fact, we need both in the marriage. In a situation whereby you don't have peace and you have intimacy, in a situation where you have intimacy and you don't have peace, there's always going to be a problem. Yeah. The problem may not be physical, so it may not be suffered by both, but it will be suffered by at least either. Even if it's not suffered by both of you, it could be suffered by your children. And as a result of that, it opens up a wall, it causes a cracked wall, because that particular area that is lacking, at the point we're earnestly eager for, and at that point you want to seek it somewhere else. Even if you don't want to seek it somewhere else, you've been very strong to avoid temptations, but because you are lagging in the area of intimacy, or because you are lagging in the area of peace, when somebody throws it at you, your level of resistance may be low. That's why many women that seem to be very, very many women or men that seem to be very, very resistant to pressure outside the marriage, at the point they fall in, because there's a limit to the level of endurance that you may be able to uphold when it comes to such situation. It is not enough to count how many years you have lived peacefully with each other. Beyond that, are you truly doing life together? Because that's the purpose of a relationship, that's the purpose of a marriage. Because marriage is a continued relationship. So have you ever asked that if you've been living peacefully together for 20 years, how many years have you been living intimately? If you've lived 20 years together, have you also lived 20 years intimately? That's the question that I want you to drop at the back of your mind. Let's evaluate our priorities and build intimacy as we maintain peace in our homes. May we be helped by God. We need God's help to do this. Yes, I know. It gets to the situation where in marriage whereby love is not enough, where everything that makes you attracted to each other, that makes that home good, will be tested. That particular point will always come in your marriage. You may not be able to avoid it. So please, I am beseeching you that both of you should please learn how to have a very healthy discussion, communication. Don't try to avoid your problems. Don't try to just settle for peace all in the name of trying to avoid issues. We can address issues responsibly. We can have healthy disagreements and resolve them. So don't let us either settle for peace or because we want to avoid unpleasant situations. Please, because at a point, if intimacy is lost, there will be no use of peace. It would be like, why don't I even live alone? Why am I in this marriage and I will still have my peace? And I know with this beautiful little point, you will go back to your partner and work on this situation if you find yourself in this shoe. Thank you very much, and don't forget to like this video. Make sure you share to your partner and follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at REGEN Relationship or at REGEN Relationship Clinic. Till we come your way next week with another beautiful video. Stay happy in your relationship and marriage. Bye bye.